Sending a nation into armed conflict is the heaviest decision a government can make. Placing that kind of lethal authority entirely in the hands of one individual carries an inherent massive risk. This document shows Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, explicitly granting Congress the power to formally declare war and fund the military. But right next to it, Article 2 designates the President as the Commander-in-Chief, strictly responsible for leading deployed troops. This creates an overlapping area of authority, a space scholars call the Twilight Zone of concurrent power. Splitting war powers between two branches forces a broad national consensus before the military can act. By the late 1960s, the United States had committed over 500,000 troops to the jungles of Vietnam. The fighting dragged on for years, costing tens of thousands of American lives. Yet, looking strictly at the legal record, the Vietnam conflict was an anomaly. Congress never formally declared war. The breaking point for the Constitution's carefully balanced system arrived when news leaked that President Richard Nixon had been conducting a massive secret bombing campaign in neighboring Cambodia. The public backlash spilled into the streets. The executive branch was now operating a shadow war entirely on its own, bypassing the legislature completely. Congress realized their Article 1 powers had severely eroded. To pull that authority back, they needed a mechanical, legally binding fix. Representative Clement Zablocki, backed by a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers and military veterans, drafted a piece of legislation designed to strictly regulate that twilight zone of wartime authority. President Nixon aggressively resisted. He argued the restrictions were dangerous and a violation of his constitutional duties, and promptly vetoed the bill. On November 7, 1973, the House and the Senate delivered a rare, unified pushback. This secured the two-thirds majority necessary to override a presidential veto. The War Powers Resolution became law. An unwritten historical understanding between branches was now a strict set of battlefield constraints. The new law installed a series of mechanical triggers. First, if the president introduces troops into hostilities, they must submit a formal written report to Congress within 48 hours. Next, the president needs an authorization for use of military force, or OMF, a congressional permission slip to continue fighting. If denied, the law imposes a strict 60-day deadline to withdraw troops, with a brief 30-day extension for safe extraction. By attaching an automatic expiration date to unapproved deployments, Congress built a legislative kill switch to stop endless secret wars in their tracks. Presidents have submitted over 130 of these 48-hour reports since the resolution passed, but the underlying power struggle hasn't been resolved. Nearly every administration since Nixon has maintained that the War Powers Resolution is an unconstitutional violation of their Article 2 rights as Commander-in-Chief. To avoid triggering that strict 60-day withdrawal clock, presidents rely on a specific legal loophole. Instead of submitting reports pursuant to the law, they submit reports that are merely consistent with it. During the 2011 military intervention in Libya, the Obama administration bypassed the 60-day deadline entirely. They argued that because U.S. involvement relied heavily on aerial refueling and intelligence rather than ground troops, it was too limited to constitute actual hostilities. By relying on semantic debates over the definition of combat, the executive branch effectively degrades the legislative kill switch. This tension remains active today. Congress passed resolutions to remove unapproved U.S. armed forces from conflicts in Yemen and Iran, only for President Donald Trump to veto both measures. While the 1973 law failed to perfectly restrict the presidency, it succeeded in forcing covert military operations into the light of public congressional debate. The friction we see today is exactly the twilight zone of concurrent authority established in the 1700s. The War Powers Resolution is the modern codification of a permanent, high-stakes tug-of-war. In a functioning democracy, the power to unleash the military is intentionally designed to be difficult, debated, and deeply shared.